Okay, we're going to try this again. Well, there's my live little notice right up there. Oh, good. I think I'm actually live now on Facebook Live. My apologies, everyone. I just spent about, 10 minutes talking to myself, which is probably nothing. Actually, it's not anything new. I do that often. But I was doing some practice on trying to get this to film in landscape mode rather than portrait, because I'd like to do that because you get bigger screen and I can walk around and move and that kind of a thing, which I like to do. But to do that, to practice, you actually change the post. Instead of putting it public, you change it to only I can see it, and I forgot to change that. So, but it looks like I am live now, and so I am excited to be here. It's will.i.am, the Bowtie Sober Guy, Wednesday night, Denver, and it's snowing again. Yeah, it's snowing again. We've actually had one of the snowier Februaries that we've had in a long, long time. Actually, we've had more snow. I think they said this has been the snowiest month since like March of 2016, so 4 years. So it's kind of funny, but I love it. My Minnesota friends, I still love the winter. I still love the snow, even though I've been here in Colorado for a long time, and Denver doesn't get a lot like we did growing up back there. So I love it, but enough about the weather. So you guys probably saw that I had posted earlier. I wanted to talk about the Shakespeare quote that was, "To be or not to be, that is the question." And I am no Shakespearean. So I had to actually figure out, I didn't even know where it came from. I knew it was from Shakespeare, but I didn't know where, and I found out that it was actually from Hamlet. And it was in the play where he was contemplating whether it was better to live or whether it was better to die. And if you go through and read the whole thing, and I'm not going to go through, because I didn't know it. I've read up on it a little bit, not a lot. But it was interesting. And the way I kind of came up with that topic was I went to a luncheon yesterday. It was actually a speaker's luncheon with a bunch of other speakers, aspiring speakers, people that want to do it professionally and some people that do. And their speaker that they brought in for the luncheon was actually this doctor who was talking about stress and the impact that stress has on our lives. And so this morning I was just doing some work on some different things on my workshop that's coming up, and putting some things together. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on Facebook Live tonight. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? So I started thinking about it. And immediately I went to this topic from yesterday about stress, because it was very interesting. I learned a lot, and it was actually really, really cool. But what popped into my head was, to stress or not to stress? That is the question. And, we have a lot of stress in our world today. And so, actually, a side note on that, and I think I've shared this before on Facebook Live, but the World Health Organization has actually come out and said that not stress, but depression is we're the saddest time that our world has ever seen. Depression is actually the number one leading cause of disability in the world, and it surpasses cancer, heart disease, all the other things, the diseases out there that you would think, and people are just sad. We're just not a happy world. And, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we thought being connected with technology was going to make everything better. Well, we could have all kinds of arguments and conversations about that, but I'm not here to talk about that tonight. So, but stress, and to stress or not to stress. So I started looking it up, and I'm like, to be or not to be, and I thought, that'll be a really interesting topic to talk about, as far as the choices that we get to make every day. And I said we get to make every day. A lot of us, I believe, run around this world, and I did for a really, really long time, thinking I had to do this, I really didn't have choices. But in reality, we get to make choices all day, every day. And there's good and there's bad in that. One of the bad things is that, sometimes choices are hard. Sometimes they're difficult. Sometimes we don't know the right way to go. We don't know the right answer. We don't know the right action. We don't know the right activity, what to do. And that causes stress, kind of taking us back to stress or not to stress. And so choices, and one of the interesting thing about choices is that it depends on how we look at them. It's all about our perspective when it comes to choices and when it comes to the choices that we make. And one of the things that the doctor said yesterday that I thought was just fascinating was he said that our minds and our bodies face, on average, in one single day, on average, we face 300 stress events every day. 300. Think about that. If you're up and awake for, say, 15 hours, okay, well, 16 hours, but 15 for easy math, that's 20 every hour. 20 stress events every hour that we're experiencing. And a lot of that is our choices, right? Or, how many of us drive to work, and on our way to work, we have to deal with traffic, and we have to deal with, like we have here, snow. Paula had to drive home from work in the snow, and it took her a long time, and that's stress. There's a lot of stress events that happen in that period of time. But again, we now get the choice in how we respond to those stress events. And it was interesting, we're just bombarded all day long with these choices and with these stress events. And this doctor yesterday was interesting. I printed out some of the stuff that he talked about, but the scientific proof on how stress affects us in our lives is astounding. I mean, it's amazing. It can cause kidney failure, heart failure, strokes, digestive illness, addictions. He was talking about how prolonged periods of stress can actually cause addiction. Prolonged, and these are prolonged periods of, it's not just a stressful moment, but living in a stress state for a prolonged period of time. Depression, hypertension, fatigue. I'm sure many of you have experienced fatigue after a stressful day, a long day, or maybe you're driving home from work and it's really crappy weather and it takes you an hour and a half to get home, and you're pretty fatigued because you've been so tense and so stressed up for that. He actually talked about how a typical stress event should be done and over within 15 minutes, and you should be able to move on. But in the world that we're living in today, we tend to hang on to those things for longer than 15 minutes, and that's where these things can turn into diseases and all kinds of just really bad things in our lives. And so when I was thinking about this to be or not to be, the choice that Hamlet was talking about was to live or die. Well, we're not going to talk about that, but really the choices that we have is how do we learn to respond rather than react. And in my Bowtie Living program, we talk a lot about that because we kind of look at everything about us, and we look internally at ourselves, and we look at our past, and we look at the things that have happened to us, and all of that, because all those things really turn us into who we are today. But that doesn't mean that we have to stay the same either. We can learn, and that this doctor was talking about that yesterday, about how we can learn different responses to these stressful events. And that's really encouraging. It's absolutely encouraging. Real quick, I just wanted to say, I'm trying this, and I can't see your comments because I'm blind. Not blind, I just can't see very well. And so I apologize if I don't respond right away, but I promise any comments that you do make during this, I will respond when I'm done. I think it'd be rude to walk out to the camera. So anyways, back to that. So back to the to be or not to be. So we have these choices, and we get to change the way we look at that and these stressful events and these choices and all these things that are going on each and every day. I mean, think about all the things that happen in one day of your life and all the different stress events that pop up. Some of them we probably don't even notice, and because they're either they've turned into habits in the way that we respond to them, or we just don't notice them, we're used to them happening, that kind of a thing. But if you really think about that, and if you could find a way to really relearn your reaction and turn it into a response, it'd be pretty exciting, because then all of a sudden now, for me, one of the things that I've learned in this journey that I continue to be on is that it's all about my choices that I make and how I respond to what happens. And, you know, everybody is going to respond differently, but I am amazed at people that go through unbelievable turmoil and events. And I've gone through some myself, don't get me wrong, but and can go through that with grace and dignity and still maintain a good outlook on life. And that's one of the things that I've been able to learn in this journey that I've been on, this recovery journey and this growth journey into Bowtie Living, is how to deal with those kinds of things. You know, I shared a few weeks ago that I had, you know, I've been able to move on and jump into this coaching and speaking full time, but you know, that was a stressful thing. It was a really stressful time for me because my past, if I held on to what happened to me in the past, I would really be struggling with where I'm at right now, and it would be tearing me down inside. But I'm not that way. I don't feel that way. I truly feel empowered and excited and energized and really looking forward to what the future is, and not hanging on to fear. And fear is the biggest thing. You know, what is going to happen? And really not letting that go. And that a lot of that has to do with my faith in God, and that I believe that He is going to provide and He's going to be there. It doesn't mean that I don't take action. I have to take action every day. I have to do something. Again, that's to do or not to do, right? I still have to do something. I have to move forward. I have to do those things that I believe will help me be successful, but I don't have to live in this fear of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You know, that's the title of my workshop, is Why Me? And man, for a long time in my life, I lived that way and thought that way, and it's self-pity and poor me and why me, and I'm a good person and how come this is happening, and you know, my life doesn't look a lot different as far as the external things that I have and I get to do and I'm a part of. It doesn't look that different than 3 years ago. But the way I perceive those things is completely different. And that's what's so exciting about this, when we have these 300 stress events that happen to us throughout the day, every single day on average. How we respond to those gives us the opportunity to grow and change and really become stronger and better. Not better, I don't like that word, but just stronger in being able to handle whatever life throws at us. Because you know what? No one ever promised that life was going to be rainbows and unicorns. At least they didn't to me. Maybe they did to you. If they did, awesome. And if you have rainbows and unicorns in your life today, I'm so excited and happy for you. But you know what? Life is hard. Life is a 4-letter word. And you know, that's what's really fun about this. But think about all the choices and all those stress events that happen to you that are just bombard us all day, right? We have kids and school and getting the kids to school, getting them up, first of all, getting them breakfast, getting them to school, all those different things, right? Plus you have to get to work and you have to do all these things, right? Then we have work and what's going on at work and what are the challenges and opportunities that we have at work and all those choices that happen all day long, every day while we're at work. What about, like I said, dinner? You know, I mean, it's crazy to me how many choices we have for dinner. It's just to eat. It's nuts, and there's new places popping up all the time. So again, choices bombarded over and over and over and over and over. And what I've been able to do is be able to take those choices, and instead of letting them run my life, I now can look at those and actually make the right choice and make the choice that I think is best. And not do it with any sort of a negative emotion or fear or anger or anything like that, but just taking it as it is. It just is what it is, right? I can't change the weather. If I have to go somewhere and drive in this horrible weather, I can't change the weather. So why am I going to get mad at the weather? But you know what? For a long time I did. And for a long time I thought, why me? Why does this always happen to me? Well, it didn't always happen to me, but that was my mindset. And so to be or not to be is really the question. Well, that's what it says, right? To be or not to be, that is the question. But it's really about, do I want to be, or do I want to give up and not take control of my responses? And I challenge you guys, really look at that and think about that. And do you spend your day reacting to circumstances and situations rather than responding? And I believe there's a big difference. Reacting is just going off and doing what you've always done. And sometimes that's what we have to do. I mean, we have fight or flight, right? That's part of our DNA, that's part of who we are, and it's there for a reason. But getting mad at traffic because it's traffic and it's in your way, that's not a proper response, because it is going to be there. It's going to be there. You can't control that. But I wanted to for a long time. Traffic is a thing. I talk about traffic a lot, I know, but and I know traffic affects a lot of people. It's a weird thing, but so being able to now take control of my emotions and my feelings and the way that I internalize the circumstances and events that happen to me on a regular basis and throughout the day. Again, I used to fly off the handle. I'd get mad. I'd get resentful. I'd get fearful, and I'd be angry. I'd have all these horrible negative emotions that are these stresses that cause disease, and I don't do that anymore. Now, I'm not perfect. But please don't think I'm perfect. You could ask Paula; she would vouch for that. But I'm not. I'm not perfect, but I don't claim to be perfect, but I do know that I'm better today than I was yesterday, which is actually fun. I've got a topic that I'm going to talk about here, probably in the next couple weeks, about our making our today that you're better tomorrow and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to get into that, sorry. Squirrel! But think about the choices that we have all day, every day, and be grateful you get to make those choices. Be grateful that you have the ability to make those choices. There's plenty of people in our world that have choices made for them all the time. And there's plenty of people that don't have the ability to make their own choices. There's plenty of people that don't have to make the same choices that we do. Okay. There's some people that have to make more, some people that have to make less, some people have to make easier ones, some people have to make harder ones. None of that matters. What matters is how I respond to that situation. And for me, the choice is to be. The choice is not to not be. Because I love what my life has in store for me today. I love having the opportunity to make these choices. And again, there are things that come up that are not easy. And they're hard, and they cause me to become a little fearful, and some were actually a lot fearful. But I've been able to look at those and say, you know what? It's just another choice. It's just another moment that I have to be able to really turn to God and ask Him for the help and the guidance and direction, and really surrender that to Him, knowing that I have to still take action and make a decision, but that I know no matter what happens that I have that relationship with Him. And because of that, I feel like I am able to go through these things much more graceful than I ever was before. And again, don't think I'm perfect. I am so not perfect. I know for me, I'm better today than I used to be. And it's really interesting. One of the reasons that I picked March 1st for my workshop coming up is I think I mentioned this on Sunday, but it's the 3-year anniversary of kind of my true rock bottom, my true emotional rock bottom was 3 years ago. And so I've been doing a lot of reflecting on that. And in a short period of time, I mean, 3 years is not a long time. In that short window of time, and not going into everything, but it's even been in less than those 3 years, but where I was at 3 years ago to compared to where I am today. If I could take that and if I could bottle it and just give it to you and say, hey, drink this bottle of whatever, Pepto-Bismol, whatever, and you'd have that too, I would do it in a second. But unfortunately, that's not life. Life is meant to be lived. And life is meant to be whatever we choose to make out of it. And that's what's so exciting is I choose to be today instead of not to be, which is where I was at 3 years ago. And again, I'm plugging my workshop that's coming up for those of you that are local. Would love to have you join me. You can go to bowtieliving.com/event. That'll take you to the Eventbrite page. But would love to have you there. I'm charging $9 for it. I'm not making any money on it. It's not for me to make any money. It's really just so that I have a good number of people that I know will show. Typically, just my experience from everything that I've had in my professional life is free events. Tons of people will sign up, and maybe a third of them will show. And so that's why there's a charge. But it is $9, and I would love to see all of my local peeps there. It's going to be my first run at a workshop, and I'm so excited. I was finalizing some stuff today and getting the workbook all set and ready to go, and I'm really, really excited. There's going to be a lot. It's going to be jam-packed 3 hours, truly jam-packed. But just going through and updating all that stuff today was just so energizing. And so I hope you choose to join me there. But again, it's just go to bowtieliving.com/event. You can sign up there. But think about what we talked about tonight, and to be or not to be. And it's really about our choices that we make. And we get to make a lot of choices each and every day. And it's not necessarily the choice we make, but it's how we move into that choice. How do we bring what emotions and what feelings and what is intrinsically inside us when we're trying to make those decisions, and finding new and empowering ways to make good decisions and not based on fear or anger or resentment or anything like that, but on faith and grace and being empowered. So to be or not to be, that is the question. To me, the answer is to be. So thank you all so much for jumping on tonight. I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. I'll probably be on Facebook Live again on Sunday, unless something pops up in the meantime. But for sure on Sunday night. Until then, have a great night. It's Will I Am, the Bowtie Sober Guy. Peace out.